Hi, good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. I'm Terence from GSMA, heading APAC 5G industry community. So welcome to join our first energy, mining, and utility interest group. So this workshop is powered by APAC 5G industry community. Today, we talk about how digital transformation in mining and energy in the 5G era. Because this is a workshop, we recommend our attendance. You can post your question in the Q&A boxes in the Zoom menu. Our speaker will try to answer you online or follow up offline. This workshop also provides simultaneous translation on Mandarin. You can select the Chinese channel in the interpretation button in the Zoom menu. So today, this is about the mining section. So according to the Boston Consulting Group Digital Acceleration Index, the metal and mine industry is 30% to 40% less mature digitally than other similar industry. So digital transformation is very crucial in mining and energy sector. Today, we have very good lineup of speaker across the region, from mobile operator, regulator, mining enterprises, system integrator, and technology leader who will share their learning and their experience of 5G. So after my quick opening, we will have the partner, Devon from KPMG, who will talk about overview of mining development in ASEAN and APAC. And then next, we have the leading mobile operator, Telkomsel in Indonesia. Yasa, we're going to talk about how they develop smart mining in Indonesia. And then next, we have a speaker from Australia, from Australian Critical Communication Forum. Alan is also the managing director of Akura. He's going to talk about connected mines of the future in Australia. And then final keynote speaker is from a pair of speaker from Petronas, which is the oil and gas enterprises. They will share about digitalization energy sector in private network. And then finally, we have very good of panel, a lineup of Malaysia ecosystem. So they will talk about how we accelerate digital transformation in policy, technology, and ecosystem perspective. So we have MCMC, Malaysian regulator, Telecom Malaysia, mobile operator, Petronas again, and also the technology leader, Huawei. So if you don't know about GSMA, we are a mobile industry organization globally. We have more than 1,000 members, over 200 market and country. So we work very closely with government and our member to drive industry program, including 5G. Every year, we produce industry-leading event, bringing more than 2,000 professionals together to drive the industry development. The upcoming physical conference is Mobile World Congress at Barcelona. We also have MWC at Shanghai, Las Vegas, and Africa. In this region, APAC, we also won regional conference, Mobile 360. So welcome to join us virtually and globally. Regarding to the 5G commercialization, we start since 2019. At the end of last year, Q3, there are already 172 mobile operator roll out across 5G across 68 market, and more than 17 market in APAC already roll out 5G. Recent roll out including Malaysia and also India. As you are aware, APAC is a very huge market with North Asia, oceanary area like Australia, New Zealand. We also have ASEAN country and also South Asia, which is a very fragmented and diversified market. So we work together with our members here and government body to form the APAC 5G industry community in order to support different sector, acceleration, the adaptation and understanding of 5G. So last year, we formed 3 industry interest groups, including manufacturing, logistics, port transportation, and healthcare. And this year in 2023, we are going to form energy, mine, and utility sector, and also smart city and public sector. So welcome to join our community. We produced already a lot of good content. Last year, we did more than 10 in-depth workshops in 3 different sectors. Over 100 digital pioneers share their journey on 5G, including enterprises, government, and also ICT ecosystem. So more than 2,000 members across from 700 organizations already our member. It covers more than 60 global market, and majority, half of us is from APAC. We also produce case study, and we support local government and operator to form their national alliance. In case you miss any of this good content, you can go to our website, which is on demand. So we're already planning a whole year activity on the next 12 months in virtually and physically. So after this energy, mining, and utility workshop, we will have the manufacturing. We work with Singapore government IMDA to talk about how 5G standalone mode drive manufacturing and productivity. So again, if you not yet join us, please join us as a community member. If you are very good enough, you will get speaking opportunity. And also, we are very happy to write case study and facilitate business matching. So now let's move to the mine topic. I think there are a lot of challenge and opportunity in this sector. The mine industry actually face multiple complex challenges from uncertainties across geopolitical landscape to the disruption of digital economy, which results in increased pressure on productivity improvement and operation. So I think this region, we have rich resources of mining. If you see Australia, China, India, Indonesia, Philippines, Malaysia, they all have rich resources. But there are also different challenges, as I mentioned. And also the mine industry also receiving more regulation from government who would like to impose more regulation on safety, environment protection. So workers underground are actually exposed to different range of risks, from exposure to structural failure, gas poisoning, extreme environment, extreme heat and humidity. In the IDC 2021 Worldwide Mine Decision Maker Survey, 86% of mine companies actually plan to invest in wireless infrastructure, which can help them to improve the productivity. Most name that 5G actually is their priority to fulfilling the promise of Mine 4.0. So we already seeing mine company leader already start adopting 5G, which will benefits on enhancing operational efficiency, reduce human risk, and also improve the communication. So 5G is really not only a technology decided for mobile phone usage by consumer. It really decided for sector to shape the industry for Industry 4.0. So it has very rich feature, including enhanced mobile broadband communication, which provide extremely fast gigabit throughput, just like a wireless fiber with very good coverage. It can allow high resolution image and video, which means 4K video surveillance, AI inspection, unified rich communication for the workers, operation maintenance efficiency with the augmented reality. It also have another feature, ultra reliable, low latency communication, which means very critical communication can down to millisecond. It could allow remote control of machine such as drills, allow unmanned vehicle, trucks, mobile robot, drones, automated guided vehicle for delivery and surveillance. It also have the very important feature, massive machine type communication, designed to support wide area, deep indoor penetration coverage, high density, high device density up to a million of devices per square kilometer. It means it allows massive sensor on environment and machine monitoring for safety. And then it could support advanced preventive maintenance, more access management and traceability, and of course, precise positioning for underground and indoor as well. So I think the good news is that there are already a lot of pioneer 5G example around us in APAC. Here you will see Akura will mention about the development in Australia. Telkomsel will talk about their mine development in Indonesia. And also Malaysia, we have a very good speaker from Petronas and operator and also government to share about their development on oil and gas industry. And of course, we also have Japan, Thailand, and other APAC countries also working on this area. So now let me introduce our first speaker from KPMG, Devon Chayat, who will going to share about their the overview of mine development in APAC. Hi, Devon, over to you. You can start share your presentation, please.
Thank you, Terence, and a very warm welcome and good afternoon to all of you who are attending this virtual seminar and workshop. Let me quickly go into the content that I wanted to present today. It is not new. Whatever I'm going to present today is really not about something new that is going to be shared. It's all about what we have been living with in terms of difficulties and challenges in achieving the level of digital transformation that is required in the mining and energy space. There are a few takeaways which I will talk about at the end of the keynote, and I would welcome any comments and questions at the end of it. So let me go straight into it. In terms of what we're going to discuss today is around the landscape. Again, this will come as no surprise, and what I will be presenting is a bunch of stats, meaningful stats, which have been collected across many reports. So you may be familiar with many of those. But importantly, the digital transformation opportunities and what does it mean for the mining space and energy space as a whole. And lastly, I would like to conclude rather taking a step from what Terence has just mentioned about how 5G is becoming an important catalyst in achieving the digital transformation hyperspeed that we need in terms of implementing digital transformation in these key industries as we go ahead. I've taken the ASEAN lens to talk a little bit about the mining landscape, and therefore the importance of the ASEAN region itself is undoubted, with a large share of the global mining actually happening within the ASEAN boundaries. In fact, if we look at the internal trade itself in ASEAN, it's about 21%, which is quite high. That means we have a lot of internal trade within ASEAN region itself. So the more efficient we become in the region, it benefits across all the countries within the region. So that's something which is quite an important stat that we need to delve upon. And any incremental, even if it is not quantum, if it is incremental changes in terms of operational efficiency, will have an impact on the overall well-being of the ASEAN as a region. So that is a lens I've taken. Of course, I can extrapolate this to Asia Pacific. I could go global, but I wanted to restrict myself to a few countries that are of importance, especially from what the industry entails in the future. A bit more in terms of the actual outputs, they have been increasing quite a bit. And this again goes to show that how important mining is in terms of an industry within the region. A large portion, of course, as you see on the right of the screen, is coal. And with the increased focus on how ESG is going to make an impact on businesses, mining and energy are the two most impacted segments. And I would say with the coal transitioning happening, that is something which we all need to think about in terms of how efficiently we're going to transform this coal as much as possible into a more sustainable coal operations. In terms of the numbers across the region, of course, they are quite large. A good portion of it is feeding the local economies as well as the ASEAN as a whole. And that is something which we need to take into account when we talk about a just transition. We simply would not be able to move away from coal on day one. It's not going to be possible. And therefore, we need to take these numbers, the trade that happens within the region into context when we talk about how the just transition will happen within the region and beyond. There was an interesting survey that we did. We asked the chief execs of the various mining companies around what would be the challenges. And the top three, of course, as listed here, are social conflicts within countries. And these are not really the geopolitical issues. That is the number two, of course, but it is going beyond the geopolitical into the actual operations. So the conflict between the communities and the mining organization. So that is something which we need to tackle at a regulatory, at a policy level, but also at a social community level. And that is something which is very important when it comes to digital transformation. How do we make safety a paramount area where digital transformation could lend a big helping hand? In terms of supply chain problems, we all have been suffering through that for a little while now, post-COVID. But of course, none of this will come as a surprise. What is important is the ranking. So above all, it is not really the environmental issues that are our major challenge. It is really the social conflict within the countries that has been ranked as one of the top areas of concern for global mining CEOs. In terms of the challenges at the global level, if you see from the mining and energy, of course, it's about the maximum consumption on a per industry basis, only next to the overall energy consumption, coal-fired power plants and building and utilities. It ranks really high in terms of the energy consumption. What is also important is when we talk about digital transformation, it is also about a holistic approach. And that is where the important statistic of 8% deaths, I mean, that is something which are a key concern, and how we could possibly leverage technology to help it. I have some examples, and I'm sure the speakers after me are going to relate quite a few other examples that you will see how technology is helping and how 5G is revolutionizing the way we are approaching safety and managing safety on the ground. And of course, nothing comes as a surprise in terms of the GHG emissions. So that's also an area of quite a big concern. In terms of the ASEAN level challenges, of course, there is a huge decline in FDI inflows, which is a concern for many governments here. In terms of the mining itself, there is quite a drastic decrease, also because of the imperatives given by the various net zero targets by each of the countries. So that's not really helping in the way we operate mining and energy today. In terms of the weekly costs from conflicts, of course, it ranks pretty high in terms of what I was mentioning in terms of the conflict between the communities and the organizations. And of course, the discoveries, sort of a drying up of the discoveries that has taken place over the last couple of years. Thanks to, of course, COVID, but also in terms of the increased awareness of where to discover, how to discover, and the technologies employed to discover that are going through a major change. Quickly moving on to the 5 forces that we collected. I will not go into details of each of these, but essentially giving you an idea about which are the various forces that are likely to act on the mining sector as a whole when we talk about energy transition coming in, and also the rampant impact of social conflict. So we are talking about decarbonizing the value chain, which is going to be an important area, which is where one of the few largest of the mining organizations have already declared their net zero targets. The challenges will be making it real. Again, targets have been set for a longer period, but then in mining industry, we all know that it's not about the length of time, it's about the value of time. So this is going to be an important aspect when we talk about the net zero targets. Adaptive, innovative ways of working. This is something which has revolutionized during the COVID period, and that is also going to have an impact on mining. Operational efficiencies. This is something which is going to be a paramount importance, and we'll talk a little bit more in terms of how 5G is by revolutionizing this. Also supporting the clean industries. We are looking at an increased mining effort that might go in for rare earths as soon as we look at larger portion of storage coming into play. Sorry, my auto lights have switched off. And the resilience for it. So the building in the entire climate resilience across the various business operations. So those are the 5 major factors that we see impacting, and the various technologies, how they're going to be a driving force on it. I will not again talk about all, but essentially giving an idea of how the digital implementations are making an impact in GHG reductions. In terms of safety, the injury rate has been severely brought down because of technologies. There is a huge amount of automation that holds benefits across the value chain of mining and energy. And in terms of the operational cost, because it all comes down to what does it mean for my balance sheet? And therefore, all of this, if it does not have a value case, it all is going to be in vain. And therefore, digital transformation is also bringing about a large impact on the operational cost basis. Again, we did pick up the World Economic Forum's study on which are the various technologies which will have an impact. And Terence again spoke about some of these, but essentially it is going to be robots, IoT connected devices, big data analytics. I mean, these are all the key areas that are impacting all the other sectors. However, very important to note that implementing many of these technologies is, or rather was, a major challenge. But we need to have a much more robust communication framework to get the data out and to manage these technologies on a seamless manner and a zero latency basis. So those are the, we do know that there are these technologies which have an impact, but how do you implement those? So what we did was, this is an interesting part which my team has been working on. And we have tabulated the various use cases that we normally keep hearing about in various industries. And also we hear that they will have an impact in the overall mining sector and the energy itself. But what we have seen is that the implementation complexity, which you see on the extreme right, is quite high. And the reason is there needs to be a connectivity between the data collection, data processing, and then the reverse feedback mechanism to make those changes possible. This is something which has been irking the industry for the longest time. We have these great looking solutions out there, but we can't implement because we don't have the sophistication. I'll just narrate one typical example that I normally bring in. James Cameron had actually delayed the production of his first Avatar movie for the simple reason that he said, the level of sophistication I need in the technology that is needed for producing something that I have in my mind is preventing me from making one. And he started only when the right technology was available. Similarly, we see very, very similar basis of technology evolution here in the mining sector. The technology is there. It's now reached a level of sophistication, which essentially makes all these implementation use cases much easier. In terms of the various challenges that prevent the digital transformation of the sector itself is, of course, the cost-intensive deployments. We look at the new technologies that may or may not be possible to bring into a remote environment like mining. Lack of connectivity has been a bane of mining for the longest time, and now we see a panacea coming in form of 5G. Large volumes of data has been always difficult at the edge devices. Of course, we have seen quite a large improvement in terms of our processing power at the edge, but still there are things which are around configuration management, immediate responses, machine learning, things like that would be difficult to manage on the edge. Potential data risks which have increased, and the harsh conditioning, of course, of the mine. So you see all of these factors have been playing quite heavily in terms of the 30 to 40%, I believe, what Terence mentioned earlier, in terms of the lag that mining sector has for digital transformation to happen because of these prevalent factors. 5G, of course, can help tackle many of these challenges. And the simple factor which Terence again mentioned, and I will rehash those numbers here, in terms of just the bandwidth, we are looking at a very large bandwidth coming into play on a remote basis. And there's the promise of private 5G. That may change the way we look at mining and digital transformation in mining from a long-term perspective. So this is something which is making a big impact overall. How does it make a difference? Now we revisit the same chart that we saw earlier. We revisit this with the 5G coming into play. How does it have an impact on the various use cases, and how it can basically cut the implementation complexity because you have high levels of bandwidth and low latencies coming into play. You have a large number of use cases being enabled now at a much lesser complexity. So that's really a comparison of the pre and post 5G world, just to give you an idea of how it can possibly bring the transformation at a much faster pace now. The various use cases, of course, you will hear a lot more of these from the speakers after me, but essentially wanted to lay down the foundation here in terms of which are the four major use cases that we see. One, of course, is around automated operations and remote monitoring. This is something which has been growing leaps and bounds given the low latency impact that 5G has. Predictive maintenance has become quite an imperative one, which essentially, when you cut down the communication lag time between the data collection and data processing, you are able to do much more feedback provisioning. And that is where predictive maintenance really becomes the rigor, and it becomes real for the operations on the ground. In terms of automation of ventilation, I mean, this is a very specific use case we see quite a bit. But essentially, we also see quite a bit in terms of the actual real-time management of ventilation, which is a very key aspect when you compare the statistics we saw in terms of safety. And finally, we are looking at remote sensing and drones and satellites coming into play. How do you make that automation portion come also through supply line connectivity and manage that on a real-time basis? So those are the four essential use cases that we see coming up in the future. What I've done here, of course, you'll see quite a few examples later, but what I've done here is identified a few projects which essentially will be path-breaking in terms of identifying how we have used or started using 5G and multiple other technologies to make lives easier for the mining operation. So in terms of safety, which is paramount, this is where we see the AI-based cameras which have been installed, and then there is the reduction of manual intervention that happens within this particular mine that we have collected. Again, these are the publicly available references around 5G, so there's nothing confidential about it. This is all public references. So this is where we see a large impact coming in, and this is real now with the mine in Indonesia having implemented it. Again, one more example from China, which is around the private network. Again, this is something which is going to see a large scale adoption across many mines, because that's something which is easily accommodated by 5G and the way it is structured. We are able to then manage a much larger load of data transfers at a very low latency basis. So that's something which is a big boon for the industry in terms of setting up a private network very quickly. We also see various examples of how automation has been made possible, because automation requires almost zero latency to make it meaningful. And that is where 5G connectivity has proved a major game changer. I know I seem to sound like a broken record, but this is really making a big impact if we look at the overall impact that 5G is having on the various use cases that you and me, as either mine operators or digital technology providers or application providers, used to actually sit back and think about saying, how do I make a difference? I have the solution. I can't implement in a mining environment. I can't implement it in a remote rig environment because the technology in between, the connectivity, simply doesn't scale up. With 5G, I think we have that particular utopian technology, which really can solve quite a lot of our daily challenges and make those use cases which have impacted a large number of other sectors also impact positively the mining sector. So with that, I would complete my keynote and hand it back to Terence.
I think thanks, Devin, again. I think it's a very good sharing in a consulting perspective. I think there are really a lot of very good example. I think not only underground mine, but also on the surface. We see how 5G helping the sector. I think, of course, it's a very comprehensive overview about the mine opportunity and challenge, in particular in ASEAN country. I think it's really good. So thanks again, Devin. Just stay behind. We are asking the audience to post the question in the Q&A boxes. So if audience, you have any question to Devin, please post your question in the Q&A boxes as he stay behind to help to answer. Thank you. So thanks, now let me introduce the next speaker, Yasa Parmadani, the Manager Enterprise Solution from the Resources Oil and Gas team in Telkomsel. He is leading this sector in Telkomsel, helping the mine operator to develop the 5G solution. Over to you, Yasa. You can share your presentation, please. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Terence, for the opportunity to Telkomsel to share our journey to how Telkomsel building the projects and how we help mining industry in Indonesia to grow more big and to achieve our government GDPs. So first of all, I want to give the information how Telkomsel's journeys to expand 5G network in Indonesia, especially in mining industry. Telkomsel is as a leading digital telco in Indonesia. Telkomsel is committed to offering the best products and service and solutions, also through a collaborative effort with partners and other stakeholders. Telkomsel has been running a variety of technology trials, use cases since 2017, when we had a 5G live demo during the 2018 in Asian Games. We built the first 5G experience center in Indonesia at the time. We introduced 5G technology through autonomous vehicle, cloud gaming, and VR. So we also been expanding 5G use cases to broader sector diverse industries to encourage the making Indonesian 4.0, just like when we host the 5G for the industry 4.0 in Batam back in 2019. On that occasion, we have collaborated with B2B partners to demonstrate the concentrate applications of 5G technology in the smart factory, smart port, and agriculture, and later on an early use case in mining. Of course, we have been working closely with the government of Indonesia to make 5G reality, especially in mining, because in mining is a very thing, you know, that Indonesia is very large country, and many difficulties not just for the technology, but the condition of geography in Indonesia, very rural, and not all the the island is covered by 5G covered. So the moment we earned the commercial operations permit to roll out 5G technology from the Ministry of the ICT, we realized that it was a great opportunity to us to reinforce of our leadership in mobile technology to foster Indonesian digital transformation through 5G. So I think mining is the last phase of in 2022 journey, because in late November we deploy in Papua, Tembagapura, but in 2022 journey we have commercial 5G and MotoGP, and we also support G20 event, and we deploy to in the tourist destinations in priority area, and we plan to 5G in 6 capitals in Java province in Indonesia. This our Telkomsel want to explain why Telkomsel built the ecosystem of the 5G in the mine. First of all, is policy. In 2017, the Indonesian government started simplifying the license process and regulations related to the explorations and extractions of the mineral and coal resources by revoking some of the outdated mining regulations. So the Indonesian government, through the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, is also issuing mining regulations to harmonize the provisions of the mineral and coal mining activities. So production operation mining mining business license, or IUP, require a holder to increase the added value of mineral and coal. And then from the IUP calls to conduct a processing activity in the necessary technology is available and economically feasible. So the government can also determine the sale price of coal to meet a domestic demand. So the IT and OT convergence, we think that both transmit and information. This we need our customer need to transmit information, store data, and serve the backbone of many business process. Telkomsel predict that Indonesian market size in mining will be growth with 15%, and we facing many problems in the how in way we implemented in mining in Indonesia. So because there are complexity to address the solution. So in the 2022 we more focus on how we complete the network of coverage. So we resilient the connectivity, and then we sustain the control of operation. And now in 2023, we increase how the talent of the employee of mining Indonesia can digitize our talent. So this is the typical of challenge in Indonesia. We know that Telkomsel see that there are five part of challenge in mining Indonesia. The first one, like Devon said, that health and safety challenge is the most important, and the productivity demands, and prices and schedule, and then scale of how to scale up the increasing size of productions, and the last is how to turning data into the asset. Telkomsel see that the key of the technology behind the smart mining in Indonesia is right now is how to connect the things. So the key technology is Internet of Things. So ICT investment in research industry in Indonesia estimate to reach 300 million USD by 2022, with 8% annual growth to 2026. Telkomsel determines services in the largest contributing factor led by cost reduction, and how to change from capex to opex-based models. We have a guide the enterprise to service-based model as a digital transformation progresses. This is how Telkomsel contribute to mining industry. As we know that when we give the solutions to our customers in Indonesia, essentially there are three important parts. The first is devices and network and services, where the Telkomsel core is in the networking and services. So Telkomsel's building use case in mining, actually, there are key considerations. The first one is a key technology, and the second is a technology partner. Based on the Indonesian mining market, key technologies that are determined for most mining use cases in Indonesia are focused on digital infrastructures and connectivity to support back-end and infrastructure. The secondly is technology partner. So Telkomsel's partner being engaged with Telkomsel's in mining industry can include system integrations or IT or OT principles, and any company in IoT focus. So we make a build a bundling solution, and if I can say that Telkomsel and OT principles can collaborate. And Telkomsel's connectivity solution as a key competitive advantage to empower of use cases, enhance and make a value for their solutions in market. This is how our Telkomsel is visioning smart mining in Indonesia. It's a little bit simple, but that's real. Because mining sector is more simple, not in like manufacturing, exploration, project, mining, process, transfer, and closure. And by 2022, Telkomsel focus on how we focus on the connected mine. So in the phase of mining and process. So our quick wins uh, leverage Telkomsel capabilities, network, and partners to connect and drive innovation. So many use cases that we have built in Indonesia, survey CCTV, energy monitoring, water monitoring, connected worker, alarming system, field monitoring. There are many use cases in Indonesia, but in the scattered style. So the next is Telkomsel want to make further explore and develop a more advanced like platform. So this is our projects by 2023 until maybe 2025 to make a specific platform for mining industry in Indonesia. This is one of real use case mining in Indonesia. We develop collaborate with one of the big coal company in Indonesia. Key initiative, key drivers is shifting. The first one is shifting in IT and business focus through the business focus and integration and how to real-time integration initiative. And number two is how we operational resilience. So technology adoption is driven to ensure that the ability to work and operate remotely. So our first key initiative and priorities is how to network infrastructure. So we for mining companies in Indonesia, it's important to have all operation connected and monitored. So network infrastructure continues to be prioritized for an enhanced. And in the digital operation, the step next step is a connected process. So similar in the other heavy asset industries, connected process is also key focus in digitalization to mining companies. And then we move little by little to 5G by end of 2022. So we have a business process integration for mining companies. So Telkomsel introduced how 5G is make more benefit to our mining company. And then how 5G to ensure mining operations remain competitive. Yeah? Organizations are looking to digitally transform their operations. This is our one of our big projects in one of coal company in Indonesia is how to management of fuel, because the fuel is one of cost in operation and maintenance in coal company. So we there have issue to handling and in high value inventory. So because the difficulties is no visibility in our customers, there are manual measurements and then low accuracy, inefficient supply chains at the time, and high maintenance and inventory loss. So Telkomsel start by a little sample of use cases, and we move to advanced solutions. So in this case, we digitalizing the inventory and move to how to custody transfer, and then we move to how the fuel spread in site operations, then with other technology. And this is during the pandemic COVID. This is one of gold company in Sulawesi. We have the how to ensure people are keeping a distance between each other by proximity sensor. So in this case, we important challenge in this use case that how to track all the interactions between the infected person and healthy persons. So we are integrated with HCM human resources platform and ERP platform. And in this case, in underground, we trace and track with BLE technology in underground to improve the safety of people who work in mines to use by use location-based service. And we add another solution with dispatch management and fatigue data capture. This is our ultimate, I think, the 5G in Tembagapura is very difficult to implement this project. You know that in the one of the biggest gold producers and copper in Indonesia. So we Telkomsel 5G underground smart mining enable customers to monitor and prevent work accidents through to optimization of camera connected to the artificial intelligence, and then our hyper-connected network as a combination of Telkomsel private network and edge computing provide a more artificial intelligence in the underground tunnel. So right now we expand the solution to the implementing AI, IoT, Internet of Things, and machine learning and data right now. The last is this is the real use case about how 5G in Indonesia, not just about in production machines, but in the learning perspective, AR/VR. So one of this is a use case coal mining because many coal mining in Indonesia. The challenging is risk of accident. During in the job training, new workers learn to use a new equipment, tools, and machinery because of the lack of basic training and expertise to operate specific machinery. This is an accident. And number two is cost. Training is expensive due to the cost of equipment, facilitation, and employee time. So training expenditures typically limited, but the training requirements is always high. So the Telkomsel help our customer to combine a learning management system and with AR/VR, because this is what our customer have a different site. There are 6 sites across Indonesia, Sumatra, Kalimantan, and Sulawesi. So how our customer training the employee. So how our customer to host and track the learning can to monitor, track, and report progress to its new employment. So with combining the virtual reality and augmented reality, the new workers can absorb training materials more efficiently, since they are immersed in totally engaged and focused scenario. This is make easier to remember lessons and gives new workers a chance to put why what they have learned to practice. I think that's all. This is end of my presentation. Back to Terence.
Thanks, Yasa. I think it's a very good explanation on how Telkomsel, how you support mining sector on a lot of infrastructure development, and of course, I think the interest case is also very straightforward. How it really benefits for the mining sector. I think thanks, Yasa. Thanks. Yeah, I just remind the audience. Yes, you can post your question in the Q&A boxes. As Yasa and also Devon, they can stay behind to help to answer any question. Or if you want to connect them, you can also connect them in the LinkedIn. We post their LinkedIn in the chat box. So now let me introduce our next speaker, Alan Siri, the director of the Australian Critical Communication Forum. He is also leading a SI company, Acura. He is the managing director. He will talk about how connecting minds of the future in Australia. Alan, over to you, please.
Thanks, Terence. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome from wherever you may be joining. My name is Alan Siri. I'm the Managing Director of Acura, a prominent Australian provider of industrial communication solutions. As Terence also said, I'm a director at the ACCF, the Australian Critical Communications Forum. Today, I wanted to share some insights into the Australian mining industry and how it is dealing with edge connectivity, particularly in a fast emerging 5G world. I thought before jumping in, I'd provide some context as to why Australia is touted as a leader in mining, particularly when you consider the modest size of the population compared to other countries. Critically, Australia's position as a leader in mining is focused on a stable government, which significantly reduces sovereign risk, its proximity to key local customers such as Japan, Korea, and China, and its diverse range of high demand commodities, which are critical to infrastructure and new technologies. And the importance of mining is not lost in the Australian economy. There is considerable support from the government and the private sector, as mining contributes to over 14.5% of Australia's GDP. But first, a couple of words about the TCCA, the Critical Communications Association. Originally focused on the development and enhancement of the requirements for critical communication users, this has now expanded to applications of critical broadband solutions. We work closely with ETSI via a long-standing cooperation agreement and with 3GPP, where the TCCA is the market representation partner for critical communications for the critical communications ecosystem. From narrowband to critical broadband, our members come from all around the world and use the TCCA as the focal point to channel collective knowledge, innovation, and consultation to ensure the most efficient progress in standards and technology. Now, to provide some context with my Acura hat on, we've been servicing the technology needs of the mining sector in Australia for nearly 8 years. Acura has more than 120 specialists across Australia, all in-house, with significant mining industry and technical experience, working for or with mining companies like Rio, BHP, and various telecommunications operators over their careers. Acura has had a hand in designing, installing, or supporting over 80% of the private 4G and 5G deployments in Australia. Early in 2022, Acura became a wholly owned subsidiary of Telstra Purple. We pretty much work for all the Tier 1 mining entities, and now we're moving heavily into the Tier 2 segment of operators, covering both above ground and below ground operations, as well as now servicing the needs of energy, logistics, defense, and infrastructure markets. This slide provides an overview of the digital ecosystem that now operates in many Australian mining operations. While the global mining industry may be regarded by some as lagging in technology adoption, here in Australia, technology is viewed as the key enabler for long-term sustainability, profitability, and safety goals of operators. Technology investment is extensive, and the mining sector here in Australia is classified as advanced in a global sense. Considering my first foray into 4G while working at Rio Tinto was over a decade ago. Now, the digitization of operations from pit to port is critical to realize the percentage gains that are needed for increased profitability, monitoring and control of sustainability measures, and also to ensure that the owners are extracting maximum efficiency from their assets. Data is the new frontier. Predictive analytics, artificial intelligence, and machine learnings are the new frontiers in mining operations, and edge connectivity is the critical enabler. Mining has been the driver of adoption of private networks in Australia, and we are now seeing a major shift into other industries such as oil and gas, ports, rail, logistics, defense, etc. This is an indication of the benefits that other sectors are looking to replicate in their own operations and market segments. When mining operations are looking for, say, 0.5% improvements in their operations, but achieving numbers like 15% improvements by implementing autonomous haulage systems, which are supported by private wireless networks, the decision is not a matter of when, but how fast can it be implemented. It's now such a science that Komatsu can calculate optimal hang time for an excavator bucket. This contains in excess of 50 tons of ore and also ensures that the 240-ton payload of the haul trucks are available at just in time to receive the ore. This doesn't happen without data from multiple systems and processes interacting thousands of kilometers away in near real time. And edge connectivity is the enabler. With early adopters of private 4G connectivity now maturing, operators are now looking to build on their early technology investment to leverage the benefits of 5G so that they can continue realizing gains of productivity and efficiencies. Mission critical is no longer the domain of emergency services. When operations are running 24 hours a day for 365 days a year, the slightest bit of downtime can be felt on the stock markets globally. Standards-based solutions are critical to success as the volume of vendors supplying the mining sector has grown exponentially. 5G connectivity will soon become standard for all OEMs. The critical element is that all equipment complies with relevant international standards. This minimizes risks for vendors, developers, and owner-operators with their technology investments. Critically, the latency benefits of 5G, which will be in demand for remote control of time-sensitive critical processes, such as underground hard rock drilling. There is a great desire to remove operators from dangerous and hazardous underground environments and move them to the surface. There's great resistance as many of the machine operators rely on feedback or the feel from their equipment in real time. The near instantaneous latency offered by 5G means that future remote control consoles can be built with haptic feedback in the same way as game simulators do today. In Australia, success in the deployment of private networks has been possible due to the recognition of the demand and the allocation of spectrum from the Australian regulator, the GSMA. Many submissions from vendors, end users, and the ACCF have educated the regulator around the potential for 5G networks and the need for dedicated regulated 5G spectrum to be made available. Whilst preserving the significant spectrum investments of the various telecommunications carriers, there is also a recognition of the demand for spectrum for private networks. Finally, the economic benefits are real. There are many traditional carrier-focused vendors who now tailor their 4G and 5G solutions to the needs of enterprise. Additionally, particularly for 5G, there is a very competitive landscape emerging across all aspects of private 5G solutions, not just in devices, but also in radio access networks and core switching too. This has been facilitated by global standards that have been developed and published. The private network deployments are able to fully exploit the benefits of implementing an end-to-end quality of service, but don't quite require the costs associated with supporting a network that is capable of managing tens of thousands of devices, as you see in the traditional telecommunication carrier markets. The approach of Australian miners to adopt a single, pervasive, high-performance network has changed the old, siloed, single user case thinking. That approach challenged early investment business cases where private 4G networks were attempted to be justified to support a single use case. Organizations need to think about the bigger picture where a single fit-for-purpose network can support multiple use cases simultaneously. Acura focused on adopting 5G for the unique operating environment of underground mining. This was part of a strategic program co-funded by the Australian government. Acura designed and built 2 5G underground networks in different parts of Australia, where we tested a diverse range of next generation 5G devices and validated various use cases specific to underground mining. From these deployments, we were able to reset the commercial model for the adoption of 5G in underground environments. The technical and commercial outcomes from this initiative will result in underground mining operators being able to quickly and efficiently articulate their business cases for 5G underground, that will address their unique business challenges. The advancement of private networks is not only going to accelerate, given the demands of Industry 4.0. It's not a matter of if, but when demand will come knocking on the door. For those looking to gain benefits from a private network, make sure the business case looks at supporting multiple use cases via the one mission-critical network. By doing this, the return on investment is amplified and payback drastically shortened. For vendors and the like, please align to the standards and prove your products in the field. End users of technology no longer have the appetite for proprietary solutions that only have a single use case. They want standards-based solutions from a diverse range of vendors to provide choice, benefit, and cost effectiveness that comes from an open market. The demand is there, and once the network is commissioned, adding new digitized capability and use cases is relatively easy. And move now. End users are well advanced in their thinking around the value proposition of next generation 5G networks. They are not waiting, so please be ready when they come knocking. We've only had a short time to discuss this very topical subject. I do hope my presentation has provided some valuable insights, and please feel free to reach out to me via the link provided should you have any further queries. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Alan. I think, again, thanks, a very good insight from SI perspective and seeing how you working very closely with different mine operator. I think, as you mentioned, I think moving forward, 5G actually is really improved the technology on 5G and compared to 4G and Wi-Fi. Definitely a lot of new use case can be developed, right? So Alan, please stay behind. I think there are some questions to you in the Q&A boxes. And also just remind Yasser, there are also some questions to you in the Q&A boxes. Please help to respond. So next, let me introduce a pair of speakers from Petronas, from Era Iser, the principal engineer, and also motor receive Faransa Ali, the telecommunication staff engineer, project delivery and technology from both of them are from Petronas. So they are going to share you about how, as oil and gas enterprises, very large giant, how they digitalize energy sector with private network. Over to you, Era and also Rasif.
Thank you, Terence. How do you read me? Is it clear?
Yes,
you
we
hear
see
me?
your
Okay.
slide. Very good.
Okay.
Very good.
All right.
start.
Thank you, Terence, and ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and participant members. Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon. I think we are glad to share our experience on our 5G journey. And first of all, I would like to thank the organizing community for giving us the opportunity to share our experience on Petronas private 5G network deployment and achievement. We can dub it as the first 5G private network in oil and gas in this region. Yeah? So the presentation today will be focusing on Petronas 5G technology aspiration, adoption, challenges and implementation aspect. For example, how we design the network, the business model that we apply in the context of Malaysia regulatory and policy spectrum. Yeah? Next, Razif, please. Next slide, Razif. Okay, to start off with, let's get to the big picture of Petronas operation landscape and the future scenario in moving towards digitalization and remote control operation, or we call it another term, remote autonomous operation. Yeah? Petronas business value chain spanning from the upstream exploration and production activities right up to the distribution and marketing of processed natural gas like LPG, LNG, and also hydrocarbon derivatives such as gasoline, jet fuel, diesel oil, and other petrochemical byproducts like ethylene, methanol, MTBE, and so on. Yeah? So currently we are undergoing transformation process, moving from traditional manned assets to reduce manning, and ultimately we are going for remote autonomous operation. So how do we reach to the end state, and what approach need to be considered? Digitalization is key to technology transformation that will lead us to new operating strategy for sustainable operation. It is imperative to establish resilient and reliable end-to-end, inclusive of the last mile connectivity, to fully capitalize cloud-based computing capability for optimal remote operation and control applications such as remote monitoring, advanced analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, digital twin, and other critical business requirements, for example, decarbonization, sustainability agenda. For your information, Petronas is working toward reducing its carbon emission by 2024 to 14.5%. Yeah? So this is a very important agenda for us to meet this environmental agenda for lowering the carbon emission. So what are the key enablers in our meeting this remote operation autonomous? We have identified that we need to have a very friendly digital policy, standard and framework. And we need to liberate our data so it can be shared throughout the operation as well as the community within the group. We need to establish cloud networking, cloud computing strategy. We need to harmonize the data architecture, modernize the network infrastructure, and to establish collaborative ecosystem, meaning that no matter wherever you are in the space, you can be able to communicate with your colleagues or with the operation to ensure you are running the plant, the asset in safely and high efficiency manner. So we also have to adapt with very stringent and secure cybersecurity policy. Okay. So we have identified 3 underpinning elements that serve the levers in leading Petronas toward digital enabled organization. Namely, we have to have this innovative culture, digitally savvy and agile workforce, as well as need to educate our staff and resources on this new way of working. So in that sense, we need to equip the workforce by providing educational platform for continuous and structured training program in order to adopt and adapt with this new way of working. The success factor of this project is very much interdependent with 1, business process encompassing the policy standard framework, 2, telecommunication data network infrastructure, and lastly, our engineering operation management tools need to be redesigned. It's necessary to fuel and facilitate the digital transformation agenda. These key enablers shall form an integral part of the whole digital and remote operation control system. So next, Razi. So what are the values and impact attributed from this remote autonomous operation? We have identified that we can derive for lean operation with ultimate aim to totally unman the facility with automation and automation process. We are going to establish this centralized hub, providing the platform for collaborative working environment, allowing fast and accurate decision making. We are going to provide automation that will apply machine and robot to take up hazardous and high risk tasks. The new and old, this is what we need to rejuvenate the legacy system with IIoT to maximize our uptime, exploiting the advanced technology and all the technologies that are offered in the market right now. Yeah. Lastly, the most critical part is we have to ensure the safety and security. We need to bring about improvement on the HSE aspect of protection of the personnel and asset. Next, Raji. I think we are all informed in this 5G capability and the features that it offers. So why 5G? In order for us to convert the current conventional operation to remote operation and control, our operation oil and gas facility are highly dependent on the functionality and reliability of the communication system. Thus, we need a very secure, real-time flow of information, voice, data, and video to, from, and within the facility. It is paramount for safe and efficient operation. We need to have a design facility and network customization to optimally serve a critical application and use cases. We also have to provide robust cybersecurity element that we need to embed in this highly required mission critical operation, yeah, to protect the operation against cyber vulnerability as well as imminent threats. Yeah. So next, Reza. This is a glimpse of various technology capability that we observe in our actual operation environment. Obviously, 5G tick all the parameters required to necessitate Petronas future-proof operation, while the other two, Wi-Fi and 4G, lack in some areas space that really critical for us to operate our operation remotely. Things like big data, machine performance would not be able to be served by Wi-Fi and 4G last mile connectivity, as well as for robotics, we need a very high resolution camera, as well as intensive data for LiDAR. For the CCTV, we need a very high resolution that require high bandwidth that is limited on 4G or constrained by 4G. As well as the main thing, the remote operation and control. In general, we require high bandwidth, low latency, and a very reliable communication infrastructure. So that is my first part of presentation. I'll pass the next half of this presentation to my colleagues, Encik Razif, to explain on how we design our RGTSU, the first site of 5G private network in Petronas. And also we'll talk about some of this business model that we apply. Over to you, Raja.
Thank you, Mr. Anwar. Thanks, everyone. So in order to deploy any cellular technology in any specific country, it is very important for us to understand the regulatory requirement at the deployed country. So for Malaysia, it is all started with the MCMC, the regulatory body of all this frequency spectrum in Malaysia. So specifically for 5G here, we do have the Digital National Berhad, which is the national wholesale 5G network provider. This means that Malaysia's 5G spectrum will be managed by DNB, and all this radio access network, or the RAN, will be owned, operated, and maintained by DNB as well. So for enterprise users, just like us, Petronas, we need a telco service provider as our partner and as a bridge between Digital National Berhad and also the enterprise users. So this is also one of the requirements we imposed by our regulatory body. So for our case here, Telekom Malaysia, TM, is the retailer and the contract holder between DNB and Petronas. TM is going to operate and is operating right now and maintaining Petronas private 5G network for us. Now, focusing on our first private 5G network, RGTSU 5G project. RGTSU stands for Regasification Terminal Sungai Udang in Melaka, southern region part of Malaysia. RGTSU is our regasification facilities whereby it receives vessels carrying LNG from around the world and offer a wide range of services, including LNG regasification, LNG reloading, and many others. So RGTSU, for your information, has been remotely operated since mid last year, about 100 kilometers away from our Unified Operation Center in Segamat, Johor. So both location, RGTSU and also this operation center, is connected via fiber optic connectivity between onshore and also the offshore location. So the 5G RGTSU project scope here is to provide the 5G wireless coverage within the RGTSU area and to complement the backbone connectivity between JRU and the onshore area. So this value of 5G has provided an unprecedented technical superiorities as compared to the current wireless technology that we have, such as 4G or even Wi-Fi. So what do we achieve from this is it enables the 5G last mile connectivity. It complements the RGTSU fiber optic backbone connectivity, and lastly, to improve our current wireless blind spot. So for everyone's information, we have achieved the 5G go live by 16th of December last year, together with our partner Telekom Malaysia. So when we designed our first 5G private network for oil and gas, our aim is that the network has to be private, which means it is within our Petronas network ecosystem. It's very important. The network has to be robust enough, whereby it is equipped with redundancy, such as the enterprise core network, as well as all of this routing configuration that comply with Petronas technical requirement and meeting our business needs. So as you could see here, the heart of our 5G network start with this 5G enterprise core that manage and process all of the action for our 5G network. The core is obviously connected to the RAN that transmit two sectors of the wireless transmission. The first sector is shooting back to onshore to complement our existing fiber optic network. And the second sector is manned on RGTSU facilities itself for our last mile 5G connectivity usage. So the 5G enterprise core is connected via offshore router, and it's connecting and integrating back to the network to our intranet, suiting our whole ecosystem. From here on, it is connected to Petronas Cloud, whereby the performance of the network is managed by our partner, Telekom Malaysia, at their monitoring center. Okay, these are the side pictures, just to provide an audience, of some feel of this 5G infrastructure looks like and located at our premises. It is offshore location, it's at oil and gas facilities. We have to manage all of these hydrocarbons restriction and etc. So that the red square there depicts the actual base station that we install. As you could see there are two sets of antenna. The first one is meant for the RGTSU last mile connectivity, and the second set of the antenna is meant for connectivity between the onshore and offshore location. So what is so important about the 5G project is also in measuring its network performance, meeting this service level agreement that we have. So this is actually the fastest last mile connectivity wireless network ever recorded in Petronas. As you can see here, even at 4 kilometers away, we are still able to pull off around 500 megs, which is easily 10 to 12 times better than our 4G network connectivity. And lastly, again, we have able to meet the business objective, which is to complement the RGTSU fiber optic connectivity, and also most importantly to provide this last mile coverage throughout RGTSU for our use cases application. With that, thank you so much.
Thanks both Era and also Rasif. I think it's a very, very clear explanation how 5G clearly benefit for Petronas in terms of the last mile coverage with wireless, and also the onshore and offshore connectivity, which is really a complement for the existing fiber backbone. So now, if you have any question, just remind the audience, you can post the question in the Q&A boxes. Now we move to the final section, which is the panelists. So let me introduce all the panelist speakers. So just remind, Rasif, can you stop sharing? Yes. Let me introduce the panelists. Malini Ramalangrim, the head of digital demand from MCMC. Next is Noor Hisham Nordin, the GM Business Architect, Business Technology of Telecom Malaysia 1. And then we have Anura Iser again from Petronas. And finally, Danny, Head Business Network Consulting from Huawei. Yes, thanks again for our panelists together with me for the final section. So let me just ask the panelists maybe quickly to introduce yourself. Maybe Malini first.
Hi, thanks, Terence. Thank you, GSMA. Appreciate organizing this session. Well, my name is Malini. I've been with the Commission for about 20 years. Prior to that, I was in the private sector. I oversee a diverse portfolio of innovative initiatives, working with both internal as well as external teams, looking at driving demand for emerging tech and digital services. Sectors that I have actually worked on are healthcare, manufacturing, transport, smart city, and was also involved in the ONG together with Petronas. Thanks.
Hisham, over to you. Maybe you can open your camera. Yes.
Hi, thanks, Terence. Yes, my name is Noor Hisham Nordin, and I'm in the industry for almost 3 years now, starting from the GSM days all the way to 2G, 3G, 4G, and now today 5G. And I'm in TM1 at the moment. With TM1 is basically the enterprise arm of Telecom Malaysia. So I'm responsible for private 5G, mobile, and wireless in Telecom Malaysia. Yes, back to you, Terence.
Danny, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Danny from Huawei. So I've been working in telco industry for almost 20 plus years, and then involving in all the deployments and developments of network from 2G, 3G, 4G to 5Gs. And the recent 1-2 years I've been driving the 5G 2B business in the Asia Pacific as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So I think Hisham, you can keep opening your camera. We start the discussion. So maybe let's start on some technology area. I think all of you are aware of 5G, the powerful technology. I think with all the features we mentioned, but 5G is still an evolving technology, right? With release 18 is on developing for advanced 5G, right? So it will allow more powerful uplink for XR experience, much better as well, and also more accurate positioning down to millisecond, down to centimeter. So just would like to ask you, as a telecom mobile operator, Hisham, so how you support Petronas to deploy the private 5G network in Malaysia? What are the key challenge? Any learning can be shared with us for reaching such good performance?
Thank you, Terence. Yeah, I think you suggested a very good features there. For example, the uplink speed, as well as these more precise positioning. For example, because if you talk about remote operation control, as Encik Anwar mentioned and Encik Razif mentioned just now, I think the most beneficial or the highest benefit over cost ratio would be remote operation control or remote operation autonomous control. Okay, so that will give a very huge benefit over cost. Imagine you can reduce the manpower as highlighted by Encik Anwar just now. Imagine from a certain number 20 plus, for example, at sites goes down to maybe 8 and goes down to 0 maybe one day. That will give a huge savings in terms of cost, OPEX, and so on and so forth. Plus, the safety part of it by not having a man goes to a hazardous zone, for example. So if you talk about remote operation control, I think those are a couple of features that you highlighted, which is very key or a key success factor per se. If you talk about remote version control, there'll be a lot of image, what you call uploading, from image to videos uploading. For example, if you do remote monitoring, things like, for example, drone that's feeding image to the server, robotic, the non-humanoid robotic, as shown by Devon just now, as discussed by Devon just now. Those are the use cases that will require high uplink throughput, which impossible to achieve via LTE today with the spectrum, with the limited number of spectrum and so on. So 5G offers that one. Number two, obviously, if you talk about robotic at site, the more precise that you can control the robot, for example, based on, as you said just now, a precise positioning, the better it is, for sure. I mean, as Encik Anwar shown just now, I mean, for us to introduce new technology or robotics at site, you need to have a proper SOP for the introduction of the new technology, for example. So these are some of the features that will help and assist for us to adapt good use cases over 5G, over private 5G. Having that said, if you talk about challenges, I will go to something that is very relatable to us, maybe a couple of those. One, I will say the total cost of ownership of the new technology like 5G today. I mean, 5G is still considered new to Malaysia. Because of that, I think the price that we see from the industry is still on the high side. And even though, as Encik Razif mentioned, that we are, or Encik Anwar mentioned in his slide, that we are governed by single wholesale network, whereby the network will be shared for the public 5G, for example. But when it comes to private, you know, the network is not shared, and the cost is impacting only one entity. In this case, the operator together with this what they call user here. So I think we need to address that. I mean, there's a number of ways to do that, obviously, together with the technology provider. And maybe we are the operator here, can also explore together with the customer on how to achieve a certain business, different business model, as a service kind of business model, for example. Maybe those will help, number one. Number two, I think the biggest challenge that we have seen the past 1 year, maybe is improving as we go, is about the ecosystem that, you know, can provide us 5G native, for example, ecosystem, like for example, 5G native IoT sensors and things like that, especially in the mining industry, in the oil and gas industry, whereby we have loads of this legacy, what you call digital control system, IoT, for example, sensors at sites, thousands of those per site, for example, when it comes to oil and gas. Or mining. So I think it's a bit lagging, but I think we are try to what you call improve the adoption by collaborating with all the players and so on and so forth. But anyhow, you know, try not to be negative at all. Even though we talk about challenges, I think having that said, still, I think if you talk about oil and gas greenfield, definitely the best way forward is still to deploy private 5G instead of LTE. Otherwise, you know, after a year or so, you need to do a forklift change of the equipment and things like that. I think that will cost more because the sea spread of the cost of the sea spread is super high when it comes to mining and oil and gas, as we see. Yeah. So maybe back to you, Terence.
Thanks, Isam. Just would like to ask from government regulator perspective and also technology provider like Huawei, MCMC, or even Nura. So what are the key challenges right now when you're seeing deploying 5G?
Terence, maybe I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll go first. Well, the way we see it, the significance of 5G is that it is, you can say that it's arriving at the same time as other technologies are maturing. You know, we talk about cloud, we talk about edge compute, AI, ML, you know, and the real benefit, I would say that that would actually play up to this is when network technology, the NT joins together with the IT and OT. They call it the three-legged stool, in some literatures, right? And so what is important is that enterprises would need to be able to bring this together, this combination of NT, IT, OT. So the knowledge and the understanding, to be able to know how they interplay, that will be very crucial for them to actually navigate through this complexity of integration with, existing tech, emerging techs, and, how that overall relationship to 5G would be laid out. So that's one important element that I observe. Enterprises moving into this market would need to actually get hold of.
Yeah. I see. Yeah, I totally agree with you. The importance of the convergence, right, for different expertise and technology, right, for maturity. How about Danny? What do you think about the benefit and challenge as a technology provider?
Yeah, it's as like what Hisham mentioned just now, with the 5G technologies, with all those use cases like CCTV, remote control, or unmanned vehicles, that we really need a very high requirement in terms of technology and performance, right? So especially like CCTV, not only downlink that way we look into, but also uplink, right? And we've involved in like AI visions and all those some use cases, and also some remote controls and some other use cases might need very low latency and massive connections. So to ensure all these use cases are in place and work properly, we really need to have a very reliable networks, right? So it gives high requirements on the O&M operation and maintenance capabilities on the networks, with to manage a higher SLA requirements as well. So to ensure all these use cases or solutions are performing as expected, right? So that will be a bit different and a more challenging and more stricter SLA that to ensure the system are running.
Thank you, Danny. Very good. So maybe now we move to the next area. Let's talk about policy and resources. I think 5G is still a very new technology, right? We really love to see Petronas as a digital pioneer, but we're also very interested to see MCMC as a regulator, right, from government perspective, how you drive and support enterprises like Petronas. I think you're also working with other enterprises in different sectors, right, to learn and adopt 5G, right? And any policy, incentive, or resources on your side to support in Malaysia?
Thanks, Terence.
Yeah.
Well,
over to you.
Well, maybe I've got to rewind back, for the benefit of the audience, about the unique model that Malaysia has, So Malaysia embarked, on 5G in 2018, and we established the National 5G Task Force. We had 114 members. We had 4 tracks in it, looking into spectrum management, infrastructure, business, and regulatory. So back in 2018 itself, Petronas was amongst the 114 members, who was part of this task force. And then we moved on to introduce what you call a national sandbox. We call it the 5G demonstration projects, which aim to facilitate creation and adoption of use cases by enterprises, sort of like getting the ball moving towards the direction of development of ecosystems, collaboration, and partnership, right? The outcome of that was we had 73 use cases identified, set up, and trialed for various periods of time by the enterprises working together with the MNO. Petronas was again, one of the entities that took up this opportunity, and they set up, use cases, various use cases at their training facility at Terengganu. It's called InStep, and that was where use cases they identified, they trialed, and they tested. And this was in 2020, right? And then in 2021, we introduced the single wholesale network model. We had Digital National Berhad as the single wholesaler, and DNB then appointed Ericsson as their vendor tasked to build and maintain the required infrastructure for nationwide coverage, right? So in essence, you can say that, the journey that Petronas took to where they are today started way back in 2018 through that active participation and that leadership and the visioning that the organization itself had, to actually embark and take the opportunity that 5G provided to improve their operations efficiency. So some of given the scenario that Malaysia had, so some of the steps or, support that was given towards enterprise. Number one, I would say that it was about providing clarity on the single wholesale network model. The market was aware that, 5G was available in Malaysia, but a lot of them were unclear how do they gain access to it. Can they work directly with the wholesaler? Who are the retail players, and who do they actually work with? So clarity was actually crucial, and that was where a lot of engagement with parties such as Petronas and a lot of other enterprises, and these are ongoing discussions that we take up to provide clarity on the policy that Malaysia actually embarked. Number two was catering towards the enterprise market. We all know that when you talk about enterprise market, each would have their own perhaps ecosystem or, supply chain partnership. This could be existing collaborations that they had, collaborations that, strategic collaborations that they look into, maybe reducing innovation costs or maybe leveraging on skills and knowledge and expertise, So with the single wholesale network, what we did was we encouraged Digital Nasional Berhad to adopt a multi-vendor approach, and this was important because a multi-vendor approach would actually provide market the agility that it requires to provide market improved time to market, so to speak, and so we found that this was important, and and it would have a profound impact on adoption of 5G by enterprises. That's number two. Number three would be in the areas of standards and technology codes. We've got an existing technical forum, which is the MTSFB, and they have been looking into and engaging. They've been engaging with industry to develop codes, technical codes and guidelines. So these are ongoing work that this forum does together with the industry. I think with regards to 5G, there are about 4 published ones already. Like I said, it's a continuous process that the industry and the commission would actually take up. In terms of, I think, sectoral-based guidelines or policies, which is important, I believe that it's still huge opportunity that we need to work closely with the relevant ministries to help shape this 5G perhaps adoption, policy within the ministries and the sectors. Other areas that we are looking at would be in the area of ORAN, private network, look into how policies can be shaped to better serve the market. And it could start by having POCs, trials of, test beds, looking into this sort of model for the country. Yeah, thanks.
Wow, Malini, I think you must do a lot of work. So not easy. When I heard about what you have done to support the sectors, I think it's very meaningful. Maybe I would also love to hear about the ecosystem. Hisham, I mean, from a mobile operator, do you have more expectation from government side? Maybe you can have some comment.
Okay. Thanks, Terence. Before I go to the expectation, maybe I should endorse what Malini said just now. I think I've been in the industry for so long, I haven't seen such a initiative drive by the regulator in terms of entice the adoption of 5G, for example, as we have seen the past 2-3 years before during the 5GDP program and things, the demo program and things like that. I think that creates a lot of traction for us as well as an operator and also the industry per se. Yeah. So talking about expectation, I think. Okay, when single wholesale network was created in Malaysia, I think the spirit for that was not to burden the operator on a heavy cost of license, 5G license. And I think the idea is that so that that will translate to the user end user, not to burden the end user with the heavy 5G license cost. And I think we should carry that a spirit towards private 5G and industry as well, enterprise as well. I mean, keep it that way. I think we need that for us to see more verticals beyond oil and gas, for example, to adopt 5G. Terence.
Okay. So how about Danny? I think Huawei have been very strong to support many country market to roll out 5G. How any experience to share about any other government incentive standard in different markets? Maybe good to learn from you guys.
Yeah, we have been some lesson learned from many of the 5G projects we involved in China and also outside China, especially like Thailand, Indonesia as well, right? So we see that one of the key fast forward the success of the 5G for digital transformation in the industry sectors are actually, government incentive play a big role in that. Which actually it do encourage the industry player to kickstart and with lesser investment or initial investment. So the incentive can be from both policy and subsidies. Yeah, not only just subsidy, can be from policy as well. Like China, Hong Kong, and Thailand, right? We do have some, including the policy to increase like productivity, all the stuff we involve, and also the some other key elements, which is the government regulatory body to play an important role to set the network infrastructure standards guidelines, right? Especially like in Hong Kong, they do have these medicals requirement in healthcare sectors that we do have a different network infrastructure guidelines to help to build and the standard requirements to support in the healthcare sectors, right? So this is important. Right, so and also they can support the digital transformation or other industry as well. So not just the healthcare standard. So currently we see healthcare standard do have a kickstarts in setting some requirements on infrastructure requirements.
Oh, I see. Thanks, Danny. So last but not least, of course, I would like to ask Era from Petronas. Do you have more expectation from government on supporting you?
That is really what I call that, something that we're longing from the regulators or the government to give more incentive or to give us the drive to deploy this 5G at our facilities. I've been with this 5G work group since 2019, and then we see that the pace of deployment of this 5G in Malaysia is quite what I call that, lagging if we compare to our neighbors. I think the issue here maybe is that the policies are not really established at the early stage of our working group establishment, and then as private users, enterprise users, the amount of the investment that we have to put up for this private network is quite substantial. And when we table our budget for them to adopt this 5G, we kind of get quite an objection due to this ROI. Because our investment does not really met their return expectation. So in this case, what we looking for is that if the government can liberate this frequency spectrum or operating license for this 5G, it will push the industry 5G adoption a more rapid and at a fast pace. So we hope this can be what I call that, take into account if you want to really see this 5G adoption really take off at a very fast pace in Malaysia, especially for industry players. Yeah, we need this 5G for our remote operation as well to automate our plant. I think maybe the government as well as the regulators can look into these matters for us to work together. So how we can make both parties from this wholesaler DNB as well as the users and also the MNOs, they can have this a share of cake that can give them some revenue for us to what do you call that, use as our incentive to adopt this 5G. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Andura. I think we all hear what you're looking for. Again, I think is not a single entity work. I mean, this is really a collaboration with government, regulator, enterprises, and of course the supplier as well, right? So yeah, I think still a lot of work to do in order to see more Petronas project and also other sector projects. So now maybe we move to another area where I would like to bring out for discussion. About the ecosystem and partnership. I think previously when I privately talked to Andura about the use case and technology, he also mentioned there he sees some challenge like the maturity of the devices and ecosystem, right? So as Huawei, I would like to ask Huawei as a leader in technology, and also you working a lot of project and also powering a lot of device ecosystem, right? So how Huawei is driving this connected mining, right? How could you give some example, how to build a more mature ecosystem for our enterprises?
Yeah, the 5G ecosystem has lots of interrelated components in order to provide the 5G to be use case or applications. So ecosystem includes the 5G network itself, and also the portfolio of technologies like cloud computing, edge computing, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and also the Internet of Things, right? As well as the 5G players like telco, cloud providers, equipment manufacturers, software vendors, and also system integrators. So an effective and efficient ecosystem will enable the organizations to address what we call the heart of business issue in the new and creative ways. So the main challenge of the main challenge of mining industry is facing is like the increased growth with more cost-effective ways, the challenge of shortage of workers as well, and also technology innovations. So currently, miners, what we suggest, miners can no longer afford to do it alone, right? To maximize the innovation and growth, they need to be willing to form partnership with various components and of broader ecosystem, right? So like there are three different types of partnerships. One is a connectivity service provider, and the others are the use case provider and also the system integrator. Right? In mining industry, especially, Huawei have deployed hundreds of mining project, mainly in China, and also now is also overseas as well. Working with partners, with many ecosystem partners, like for example, the dump truck and the excavators company like Yutong, Sany, Komatsu, and etc. Beside the industry equipment supplier, we also partner with the system integrators company like Weitos, Bonray, etc. So this SI company who actually has a respective experience in specific industry as well. So such as providing digitized solutions like smart dispatching system, which able to optimize the unmanned dump truck assignment and scheduling, or retrofit the conventional dump trucks to become unmanned vehicle and remote control excavator, right? So Huawei also started to work on a few connected mining projects region outside China. One of the project is the mining project in Thailand. Through Huawei working experience and partnership with ecosystem, we together with local connection service provider introduced the unmanned EV trucks and also system integrator company to the local mining company. Right. So currently in Thailand, we also enabling local connections, service provider in 5G to B business development, including providing training, 2B leads analysis, vertical solution selections, ecosystem partnership, business case analysis, and also develop the enterprise customer engagement package, right, etc. It means that helping them and guiding them how to approach the enterprise customer as well, right? So this is in order to accelerate the 2B business development of the second wave of revenue growth on top of 2C market for the connection service provider, right? So leveraging our experience in delivery more than hundreds of connected minings and also about 5,000 others to be business and in projects as well. In China, we are happy to work closely with all the local partners and also local mining market leaders, also together with locals connections service provider to join develop the connected mining projects, and at the same time bring the ecosystem partners to the local markets. Back to you, Terry.
Yeah, very good. I I also want to hear from Telecom Malaysia. Please have your view. What do you want to comment about partnership and also ecosystem development in your view, in your side?
Sure. Thanks, Terence. I think okay, we have seen the adoption of private 5G, for example, comes from heavy industry, the one that has a very clear and good benefit over cost ratio, for example, like oil and gas, like mining, like smart ports, for example. Those are the huge, big players from the industry that really adopting private 5G. We have to also embrace the early adopters or those who like to enjoy private 5G, for example, that comes from a smaller scale. For example, manufacturing facilities. There's loads of, I think, manufacturing, what we call facilities enthusiasts who like to see private 5G deployed at their verticals, for example. I think what we can see or help or assist to come from what we call a technology provider is try to address small scale, like a starter kit for private 5G, for example, so that the TCO for this player or for this industry will not be too high or achievable. For example, and maybe we can talk also about business model a bit different than today's business model and things like that, like pay as you use or as a service kind of thing. Yeah, Terence.
Yeah, thank you. Malini or Anura, do you have anything to add about this partnership or ecosystem side?
Okay, on Petronas end, I think this partnership is really critical for us to develop this 5G native devices, because now we have already embarked on this 5G journey where we have our first 5G site, more to come this year, and there's already planned for us to adopt this 5G for the upcoming years, and then I think it could be more than 10 sites will be plan to deploy this 5G. But how can we serve or sustain this demand request from the users? Because they want to see their investment is worthwhile. As of now, we are trying hard to bring in these use cases, all the devices that 5G enable can serve their critical mission critical application. So in moving forward, at this juncture, we are working together with a technology provider like this instrumentation product developer, Honeywell, and so on to come up with this 5G enable that will create the interest from the whole broad spectrum of users that we can actually make full use of this 5G, and the investment put will not be waste unnecessarily. So we look forward technology providers as well as the service provider to work together on how we can proliferate this ecosystem, and especially within our operation with high what do you call that, stringent requirement, working in risk, highly risk and hazardous kind of operation. We are not what call that able to use commercial products. For that, I think we have to work hard to develop and come up with this stringent explosion type of product that we can serve for our customers or our stakeholders.
Yeah, of course. I think another area.
Terence,
Malini,
I'd just like to weigh in here. You know, when we talk about ecosystem play, perhaps I'd like to maybe emphasize, you know, when we talk about the co-innovation, the co-creation, the coexistence, right? I think what it really translates to, and from a very business perspective, you know, it translates to investment by all stakeholders, not just the operator, right? So when you have a mindset that is perhaps a long-term relationship or a partnership mindset, you know, then, you know, the value of it will come from economics of scale, you know, the lower cost of deployment, the creation of new services together, you know, as a partner, you know, where you would be able to scale not only within that sector, you know, but apply it to various other sectors, right? I think maybe that's the spirit of that ecosystem play, that co-creation, co-innovation that, that needs to be developed when we talk about moving this forward.
Yeah, totally agree. Scaling could be a strong way to drive down the cost and develop a more mature ecosystem. So I think that's also why we have a community in this region. So your innovation in Malaysia can be replicated in Indonesia, Thailand, or all the other ASEAN or APAC country. I think that would create a scale to getting more Honeywell company or Huawei to drive down the cost, right? In a way, I think that's our approach. So I know it's a little bit running out of time. Thanks for the patience for the speaker and also the audience. So I would like to extend for at least 5 minutes to have our last question. So I think everyone of you hear about 5G. Actually, 5G there are quite a flexibility features and have many options for deployment. So you hear, for example, I think there are standalone private 5G network using private spectrum. Second option could be stand private network using operator spectrum. And the third option could be public network with local infrastructure on premises, which means that the control plane could be relying on the public infrastructure, but the data plane, user data, could stay inside the local infrastructure. And the final option could be totally public, but using the 5G network slicing feature, allow end-to-end QoS dedicated for the enterprises. So I just want to ask Petronas, right, as a digital pioneer in my enterprises, I think you must have considered all these options at the beginning when you deploy the network, right? So it could be different reason, right? Considering different options, right? Like the performance, security, privacy use case, or even the business model, right? So any advice to the potential industrial user on what should they consider on different options? Yeah.
Okay. Just to get a brief, give a brief background on our journey for this remote operation. We see not until recently with the advanced communication technology would Petronas be able to realize the digital field operation concept. Yeah, this idea was mooted back in late 90s to be implemented in a convinced, safe and secure manner. This would only be enabled by highly reliable end-to-end connectivity with improved last mile wireless network infrastructure. Back then, this communication backbone as well as the last mile wireless connectivity elements to support the application is not matured or fully proven, and for our implementation, to say the least. So the major issues back then is infrastructure as well as the back end support is yet to be established. Yeah? So in our journey now, we are now focusing on mainstream digital teams. For example, big data analytics, data handling, internet, industrial of thing, IoT, all these machine learning, artificial intelligence, and we also are moving to embrace this mobile solution, virtual reality, and advanced robotics. These are essential for our remote operation and control. Okay, in our design, we need to focus on the superiority and connectivity type of communication that need to prioritize on low latency, ultra reliable communication, and enhanced mobile broadband. This capability is right now is only served by this 5G lah. So another things that we need to consider is having on-premise enterprise 5G core that should be resided at the facility itself will reduce the network latency and allow application services and content closer to the users. This will provide users with reliable and ultimate service experience, because in our operation, we need this accuracy and precision for a quick decision making. Yeah. So as well as we need to avoid single point of failure, where all the critical equipment, for example, the 5G enterprise core and all this hardware that is we cannot afford to down, need to be redundant and meet our SLA requirement of 99.9% network ability. That is equivalent to less than 8 to 6 hours in a year. So taking this into consideration, private 5G network is the solution best suited to serve our operation, where we are in total control, and the design of network can be customized to our requirements. Yeah, with SLA of 99.9%, I think the public 5G service infrastructure, we can say that it's less stringent that the compared to the industrial requirement. The response time would not be able to necessitate the quick and responsive rectification for us to troubleshoot in the event of any failure or system down. Yeah? So this high expectation to secure and ensuring the safety of our operation, asset and people should not be compromised. In that sense, the design of a network, especially the operation technology, environment or domain, are to be fault tolerant to ensure we have this high availability and business continuity for the mission critical application. So we see in our presentation, our first 5G private network at RGTSU is uniquely designed. I think this could be one of the few with customized architecture where we serve dual function. First, to provide the pervasive wireless connectivity for the end connectivity to our last final element transmitter at the field, and also to back up our point-to-point transmission onshore offshore in the event of the fiber optic link failure. Yeah? It is critical since the operation now commencing on remote operation, as our my colleague just now, Encik Razif, mentioned, we are operating at 100 kilometers away from the site. Yeah. So on the aspect of commercial, I think the deployment of this 5G at this point of time, we are left with no option except to subscribe to this SW single wholesale managed services. So we envision in the very near future that could be a friendly or improved policy. We would like to see that some of the spectrum liberated and we can obtain the license for Petronas to deploy at on a wide scale manner. We are looking into the whole of our asset that is going for ROC be equipped with this 5G infrastructure. But then we need to have it at a very attractive cost. Yeah. So moving forward, also we would like to spearhead the proliferation of the 5G adoption with all the interested party, technology provider, and also the service provider to help us moving the nation towards this digital or IR 4.0 program. So we hope that this 5G will be a push factor that will drive us to meet our IR 4.0. Okay, yeah. I think that's our Petronas what I call that vision on this 5G. Yeah,
we hear very clearly your strong ambition. So I would like to ask also Hisham from a mobile operator and also Huawei, right, from a technological. I think you know all these options very well. But do you have any recommendation to I think large enterprises and also small, medium-sized enterprises when they consider the options of 5G?
Sure. Thanks, Terence. I think to add to what Encik Anwar described just now, I mean, from the perspective of whether to use existing spectrum or new 5G spectrum, I think there is no debate on that as we discussed. I mean, we need the new spectrum of 5G, 5G itself as a features. Due to the fact that remote operation control, for example, would require high uplink, which you cannot see happening in LTE. You can do that in LTE era. And if you talk about to choose between NSA and SA, again, since this is the dedicated network, if you talk about dedicated network, talk about private dedicated network, for example, then I think the choice is obvious. It has to be SA. I mean, there is no legacy that we have to worry about, you know, and then we can create a very minimal core 5G core, for example, with the enterprise solution and things like that. So there is no reason for us to really consider NSA. I think by jumping straight to SA, that will save a lot of time, and there is no issue to migrate from NSA to SA later, and you don't have to worry about the legacy component of NSA also. So I think that's some key points there. Thanks, Terence.
Yes, Danny, anything to add?
Yeah, it's actually from our experience, actually, it's all based on the requirements of the industry and use cases. Like for example, in mining, it could be a standalone private networks could be a good choice, because the one thing is they only cover their own resources and then the use cases, and to have a better secure local network as well. While for other industries or sectors like healthcare, so maybe public networks with slicings could be a good chance, because they are not only covering the hospital or the doctors or nurses or use case in the hospital, but also they involve a lot of wide coverage requirements, like including smart ambulance, right, covering those clinics, those remote consulting services, use cases, etc. So this might involve a larger network or larger coverage. Right. So with this one, of course, to ensure some of the quality and requirement, that the slicings solution could be a good ways to actually assure they have dedicated pipes and also to their own cloud, and to have the use cases, right? And some others like small medium industries like a smart office and other small industries, that a hybrid public network could be a solution as well, right? So with everything's running on the public network, signaling on the public network, well, if they have some certain use cases, they need to have a better speed or better latency, etc., then they can have a hybrid with local infrastructure involved, like distributed MAC. Could be a solution as well. So everything is depending on the different use cases and solution for different industries, right? Is of course we need to look into the requirements on connectivities, the mass connections, coverage, security, latency, bandwidth, etc. Right? But of course, in the small medium industry, fully private network could be a very high cost to them. So it's really depending on the requirements of the use cases versus how they want the network, how reliable and how advanced the network they want to support their use cases. Thank you, Terence.
Yeah. Thanks, Danny. I think it's a very good supplement about the reason behind different options. I think that's also why there are different options for enterprises to consider, right? Based on different reasons. So again, thanks all the speaker and panelists. I look at the Q&A boxes right now. I think Thanks again. I think we have more than 13 questions and most of them are answered already. Only one question is to MCMC. So this is a little bit out of topic question here. The CW Chen also mentioned, so I will leave behind to Malini to answer offline, right? Finally, I would like to close up the section and asking each panelist to talk about maybe first, talk about any closing remark or what is the focus on next 6 months. This is also a line of one of our audience who want to ask. Maybe Anura first. Any closing remark or what are your focus on the next 6 months?
Our next 6 months is we are going for another deployment at our site. So our focus now is how we can gather all these industry players to help us to provide these use cases, 5G enabled use cases, that we were able to get the buy-in, to influence all our stakeholders that 5G will be the way forward. And also this 5G, I think will be very critical for our decarbonization program, where we can use it to monitor this fugitive emission. So all these big data analytics, all these monitoring of these carbon CO2 emission will be more, what do you call that, more precise, more accurate with this 5G. So that is our what do you call that, vision and expectation from the parties outside there to help us moving forward. Yeah.
Thank you. Malini, over to you. What's the focus or your closing remark?
Yeah. So first of all, I think two things. Number one, we are committed towards providing a supportive regulatory environment and will continuously work closely with the market to identify, facilitate, and drive commercial adoption. For 2023, there are key verticals, sectors, use cases that we've already earmarked, working with some of the renowned industry players in the market. So there would be more commercial deployments that the world would see from Malaysia. So my message would be, if whether you're an MNO or an enterprise client, local, global player, and you're keen to, look into entering the Malaysian market, you know where to reach us. We'll be more than happy to facilitate the collaboration, the partnership, the network with any of the players in this environment. Yep, that's all, Terence.
Thank you. Hisham.
Thanks, Terence. I think for the next 6 months, this whole thing is all about collaborative effort among all within the industries. I think number one, I think I would like to see a good way forward on the policy itself when it comes to private 5G. I think Cik Anwar elaborated that earlier. Number two, I think I want to see this network slicing feature come into place. We have seen the challenges. I know it's not that easy, but there are many things that we can do via network slicing. I mean, more and more what you call verticals or use cases that we can address via the public 5G network that has been deployed in Malaysia, utilize network slicing. I think it will create new revenue stream and products there. And lastly, I think number three, I totally agree with Cik Anwar. I mean, we need to encourage the ecosystem that brings 5G native, what you call solution to the industry. I think we are also doing lots of what you call collaborative efforts with the players and so on. Together with Petronas also try to quicken or fasten, make it fast when it comes to this adoption of a 5G native player into the industry. Yeah, Terence.
Yeah, final but not least, Danny.
Yep. Yeah, so maybe not just 6 months, but there maybe longer than the next 6 months, we'll continue to do that. So we'll continue to do what we have started like past 2 years already. So we support the local operators, the CSP, connection service provider, and also local ecosystem systems, including work closely with government regulatory to develop the connectivity solutions and also industry use cases, right, in order to support the digital transformation for the industry evolutions. Thank you.
Thanks, Danny. Thanks, everyone. It's great to have all of you over the last 2 hours. I think it's a very informative section, a lot of insight in different market and on different perspective in this final panel. Again, the next APEC 5G community workshop will be about manufacturing using SA network. We will have a speaker over the region, but we will primarily focus with IMDA, who would like to share about their latest development in Singapore. But of course, we have a speaker from American and also in different part of the APEC. So see you on 16th of February. Welcome to join the community. Thanks again. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your patience. Hopefully, we can also see you physically in Barcelona. Welcome to MWC Barcelona on end of February. We also have a lot of 5G, IoT, AI, a lot of hot topic, of course, policy as well. Thank you very much. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.